Greece by MEP Michelle Asimakopoulou. You are very welcome to the show. Thank you for joining me.
Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.
So you are in lockdown in
Yes.
Greece at the moment. You're a member of the European Parliament, a member of the EPP group. How are you able to continue in your very important political role while being in lockdown?
Right. As you said, Joanne, we're in lockdown in Greece. Greece was one of the countries that actually took these measures relatively early on compared to some of the other countries. The result is at the moment, we're starting to see a flattening of the curve. And at the moment, we haven't had that many deaths compared to other countries. We're at about 80. And we're hoping that if people continue to comply over the Easter holidays with the very strict lockdown measures that have been taken, that we'll avoid our health system becoming overwhelmed, which at the moment continues to be operational. So that's where we are. And I'm in the outskirts of Athens in my home office. Luckily, all my staff are well. Some of them are in Greece, some of them are in Brussels. And we try to remain optimistic, first of all, and in good spirits, and then productive. So we're using this time to reorganize the way we work together. And I think we're making significant improvements, actually, which we probably should have done when we were working together before in a live setting. We're using all the, all these teleworking tools and also trying to launch new campaigns in our social media. The idea being twofold. One, I'd like to communicate to people the work that's being done in Parliament, because the European Parliament is operational. We're doing committee meetings where everything is monothematic. I mean, we're talking about COVID-related stuff all the time, but we are functioning in committees and in plenary. So I try to communicate this to people and give them information. And then secondly, I also try to promote what our government is doing to my colleagues abroad.
One of the very interesting and innovative initiatives that you have taken is a new social media series called Life Goes On. Tell us about that. It caught my eye.
Yeah. This is what we call the COVID-19 Life Goes On series. And this is, I told you, trying to keep people informed about what's going on. We have something called MEP to MEP, where I do these one-on-one interviews with colleagues from the Parliament, from all of the political parties and different countries. So they tell me what's going on in their country, and I tell them what's going on in mine. And together we talk about what the European response should be to this, both as on the pandemic level, on the health level, and also on the economic level. And then I also do MEPcasts. So these are discussions with experts in Greece and abroad, panel discussions on various issues that have to do, again, with how the pandemic is affecting policy. I'm the vice chair of the International Trade Committee. As everybody can understand, there are some big issues with the internal market, how it's functioning, trade, industrial policy, what the next day is. So we talk about that with experts from all over the world. And then we also try to give people suggestions on what they should do every day when they're, cooped up at home with their kids or with their loved ones, things they can visit from around the world. We call that part of our Life Goes On series, and also tell them stories, especially from what's going on in Greece, of everyday heroes that are not in the front line, like the health workers and people in supermarkets, but everyday heroes who are doing amazing things to help one another and to help all of us get through this as best we can. So that's our COVID-19 Life Goes On series, and it keeps us real busy.
Can I share an observation that I've had with you? And obviously from my perspective, that's what I do. I analyze how government, political and public sector comms operates, particularly in the online world. So one observation I've had, and I'd love your view on it, is that the political voices in the main have been prime ministers, they've been ministers for health. We also have our public health experts, like our chief medical officers, dominating conversations. But I have noticed that our our other ministers and departments or other politicians aren't as vocal as they normally are? Is there a fear, or what is your understanding of that?
Look, I've been an elected politician for the past 10 years only, but I've done all levels of elections. I've done local council, municipal council. I was a member of Greek Parliament from a rural region, from one of the largest regions in the country, and then I did a national campaign to get elected to the European Parliament. So I can tell you that, you know, your survival instinct as a politician when it comes to what you're saying publicly and how much you're exposed in different circumstances, it is a big factor in your communication strategy. So there's two types of approaches. One is you're just out there, even though nobody knows what this is going to be like. I mean, I can tell you that I feel that people in Greece now are actually trusting our government. We have a reliable government. They listen to the 6 p.m. news where we have a specialist who is in charge of letting us know what's going on. They're trusting the government, but that's because they're at home and they're scared about their life. Nobody knows, you know, how long people's patience is going to last. Nobody knows when they're going to lash out against the people that are, you know, the faces that are in the front line of this. So a lot of politicians who are not required, let's say, if you're not health minister, you're not responsible for, I don't know, you know, crisis management, you're not in the front line. Some of them are taking a back seat right now and saying, well, you know, maybe I don't want my face to be out there right now. That's a decision, and that's not a decision I've ever made in my political career at any level. In fact, I was government spokesperson when we were doing the austerity measures in Greece, and that was really, you know, that was not a pleasant task to, you know, have to announce austerity measures every day, but explaining them to people. But I feel that it's just, first of all, I feel it's a duty. You have to, you know, you have to do what you can. And second of all, I find that if you're forthcoming, straightforward, and honest, people recognize that. And I think in this series that we're doing, at least from what I'm getting from my constituency, they're sort of comforted to feel that, you know, their elected politicians are trying or doing something, are a voice. I mean, now it's a big issue, as you know, how Europe is going to coordinate its response with solidarity. Is it going to issue Corona bonds? Is it going to have the ESM deal with this? How much money is going to be available? What will be the terms? This is a discussion that can get really heated and emotional, and people are really worried about what the next day is going to be for their livelihoods, for their businesses, aside from their health. So, you know, I see they watch this, we call this EU Backstage, which is I just do these little videos and I explain, you know, today was the Eurogroup. Not everybody's an economist, you know, Joanne, and they can't follow everything. So we try and make it simple and say, look, you know, if people are telling you this is bad or this is good, you just have to understand X, Y, and Z. I think that you know, at least this is my decision now. Where it might lead, who knows? But I think that's why you're not seeing a lot of people, because a lot of people are just saying, you know what, this is an unpleasant thing. I don't want my face out there talking about, you know, really unpleasant things like death and, you know, curves and how long you're going to be cooped up in your house. So I'll just sit this one out.
There's another wave of misinformation going right across the internet and social media, because when you have a crisis, there are opportunists and bad actors who want to maximize, whether it's to monetize fake news or whether it's to share propaganda. I'm of the opinion that our leaders, our government and our public sector agencies have now a greater responsibility to go all out with communication so that the truth rises to the top. You've taken what I call an omni-channel approach. You are going from YouTube to your website to Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and also into email marketing. So you're covering all digital angles. Was this a decision taken on the back of the current crisis, or is this something that you've been doing as a norm up to this?
No, it's something I've been doing, but you know, you manage your time and you have priorities, and my priority, I mean, I'm an economist and a lawyer, not a specialist in digital marketing, you know, so I try to get myself as organized as possible, but ultimately what takes up the bulk of my time usually is policy, legislative files, et cetera. And I have a very good team of young people, but we're now all going up a learning curve with respect to how to best optimize whatever is available to communicate using all these channels. And frankly, I think it's a one-way street. I mean, I think if, you know, I have a big constituency, it's the entire country. I can't go visit anybody now, right? So I have to get close to them. So we're investing in, we're reskilling and upskilling and investing in doing this mostly in-house. I mean, you know, we ask for help from experts like people like you who really know what this is about, but ultimately I'd like my team to be able to do this. And that means that I have to understand too, because if I don't understand how it works, then I can't make the right decisions.
So you make a very valid point. I have this phrase that I use: don't outsource your story, because you can tell your story the best. And upskilling your team at a time right now, it's almost like a gift of time that we've been given to do this, right?
Absolutely. I totally feel that in many things. And then, I mean, I push my team, I push myself, first of all, but I also push my team to really take advantage of this time and really get us organized, because I feel very much that if we do this right, then ultimately we will have gained time for in the future also. You know, if we're organized, I mean, we do these, you know, we just do these group meetings where we can actually all focus, which was very hard before because I was on a plane, you know, we were in committee meetings, somebody was following a meeting in another room. Now we're just all like this, you know, so we have the time, so we might as well take advantage of it. You got to make the most of every situation. This is a really, really difficult situation, but the one thing that we do have is time, and as long as we have internet and bandwidth, then we can still work.
Do you think after this, and you know, the playbooks and the guidebooks and the actual books will be written after this by a whole host of experts on what we've learned, but do you think that political communications will be changed forever as a result of COVID-19?
Yeah, I do. I think everything will be changed forever as a result of COVID-19. Some things for the better. I mean, being a MEP, and if you really want to do it right, if you want to be, you know, do your duty towards your constituency and do your duty in Parliament, then life is really, I mean, hardcore in terms of going back and forth. You really have to, you know, take a plane, 2-3 planes a week just to make sure, you know, and then you go to Strasbourg and you do all this. Well, frankly, I think that, you know, even Parliament needs to reconsider how it operates. I'm not saying that we can operate, you know, teleoperate all the time, but we can certainly do a chunk of our work this way. I mean, it's getting done now, so and it's better for the environment, and it's better for everybody, and it's more efficient. So I think that that'll go on every place. I mean, I can't imagine that there's a setting where we're not now discovering efficiencies and increased productivity and, you know, better environmental, you know, protection through using these technologies. So yeah, I don't think we're going to go back. I think these are some permanent steps forwards. And like I said, in every tragic situation, there is a good thing. And I think that's the good thing. Greece, for example, which is like second to last in the you know, in the indices in Europe in terms of digitalization, all of a sudden, because this is the way it is. I mean, I'll give you a very human example. My mother, who's 77, and I mean, I bought her a smartphone a long time ago, and she uses email and, you know, surfs the net, but she was like, you know, Viber, WhatsApp, you know, why do I need this? You know what I mean? And then I told her about, you know, I'm having a birthday party and I'm doing it through Zoom. And she was like, what, you know, but now she can't see her grandchild. So all of a sudden she's like, I hear there's this team viewer thing and somebody can go into my computer and help me set this up. And I'm like, yeah, Mom, you know, I've been telling you this for months. It only takes half an hour. And she got over her fear, you know, and now now I'm like, Mom, I have work, Zoom isn't for work too. We don't just, we don't just have parties on Zoom. So you see, that's what's happening. And even the Greek government, all sorts of things that were under discussion. Should we digitize this? It's just all happening all of a sudden. In like 2 weeks, more digital services have become available for citizens than, when I was shadow minister for digitization, I had to, pull teeth in the public sector to get them to do this. And now they don't want to go into work because they're scared. So all of a sudden they're all teleworking, which is what I was telling them before. So we'll see.
Yeah, so organizational and behavioral change has happened before our eyes in the course of 2 weeks. So one final question that I ask everybody on this series and on this show is, how are you coping personally, and even from a well-being and a mental health point of view, in that your work life and your personal life has just been changed like the rest of us in a short space of time, and we don't have any visibility of how long this is going to go on?
Yeah. I just try to take it one day at a time. I don't really know what else to do. I mean, I force myself to have a routine, like, I know this sounds trivial, but I force myself every morning. I get dressed, I put makeup on, I mean, and I make a plan for the day. And I can't go out. I mean, I can only go to the pharmacy or the supermarket or whatever. I can go for a walk for an hour, but, I try to act as if this is normal and this is going to pass. And, of course, I'm privileged, let's be honest. I mean, I have a decent workspace, I have internet, I have a job that I can do. If I were a baker, then that might be a different situation, so I think that many people will be challenged over the course of time with mental health issues. Here, the government has also done a number of digital solidarity things that they're doing online, also a psychological support phone line and online psychological support. And, I think we're just going to have to be strong, be optimistic, and help one another. That's the other thing. I mean, I try to reach out to friends every day. I try to put an hour aside to, talk to friends of mine, especially people that I think are lonely or, need friendship and support and love and solidarity and all these things. So I've talked to some friends I hadn't talked to in years. That's the good part, Yesterday,
Yeah.
I had a Zoom meeting with my girlfriends from college, which we hadn't done in like forever. And now I wonder why didn't we, why didn't we schedule this once every couple of months? I mean, so there we go.
Amazing. Thank you. Well, it's been an absolute pleasure to have you on the show and to discuss COVID-19 through the lens of an MEP and through the lens of, again, another human being, because at the end of the day, we're all in this together and we're all real people. So Anna Michelle, have a great day, and thank you so much for joining me on the show.
Stay healthy and happy and optimistic and productive.
I will.